As you know, I'm an average guy becoming a professional golfer. And since I'm just a regular dude, that means I have no money. And having no money and trying to play professional golf, not a great combo. So we're doing the best we can. We got a tournament coming up in South Carolina. It's a one-day tournament on the South Carolina Mountain Tour. And I don't have enough money to play a practice round. So we're going to do our best to play a practice round for free. Now, I know that sounds insane, to play around without playing around, without paying any money, but hear me out. What I've done is I've gone through Google Earth and GolfLogix and the website for this golf course, Columbia Country Club, because they have a pretty extensive course layout on there. And I've created a yardage book with all the yardages, the hole layouts, the green maps, everything I need. So I'm going to take this yardage book, and we're a week out from the tournament. I'm going to go to the range, and I'm going to play this golf course on the range. And here the goal is really just to get everything as close to a real round as possible. You've probably heard this idea before of playing the golf course on the range. Pretending and envisioning the holes out there on the range, picking your targets and playing as if you were on the course, meaning selecting the clubs you would probably hit, trying to hit the fairways, trying to hit the greens, and envisioning it in your head. We're going to take it to the highest level of imagery. We want this to be as close to a real practice round as possible. So that means doing everything you would do in the tournament. And I'm talking about taking head covers off, putting head covers back on, cleaning the clubs. If you wanted to, you could even go so far as to pick your bag up between shots and put it back down. We are trying to get as much detail as we possibly can to feel and resemble like it's going to in the actual tournament day. So for every hole, I'm going to have the hole layout in my hand, and this course has actually posted videos, flyovers of their holes, so it makes it a little bit easier to visualize. But I'm going to visualize that hole on the range. I'm going to pick certain points where key features are. So maybe I'm looking at a bunker that I need to carry or avoid. Maybe I'm looking at the edges of the fairway. But in general, I'm picking what post, what tree, what dirt pile is my boundary for my fairway, and what represents any hazards that are on this hole. Once I've lined that up, once I've found exactly what I want it to look like in my head, I then envision the shot that I want to hit on that hole. And again, we don't know what it's going to look like when we get there. We don't know exactly where the tees are going to be, where the pins are going to be, what the weather's going to be like. We're doing our best to replicate that. So we hit our drive based on our set parameters. And then I'm going to go so far as to try to emulate the lie that I think I would have gotten based on my drive. So if I think I missed the drive out to the right or to the left, I'm going to find a patch of rough somewhere near the range or on the range, thicker grass, and hit out of that and really try to replicate being in the rough. In this case, this course has a lot of sandy native areas on the sides of the fairways. So it's really easy for me to replicate those kind of shots by just going in an old divot or filling in some sand on top of a rough patch of the range and hitting out of that. So I'm going to be doing that a couple times in this video. In terms of the approach shot, essentially I'm just basing it on my average numbers. So what is my average carry for a driver off the tee? Then I take that number and subtract it from the distance of the hole, giving me a likely or possible outcome in terms of what my approach shot might look like. Again, it's our best guess here. It's not going to be perfect. When you get into a round, it's always different than what you practiced. I don't care how many times you practiced. I don't care if you play the course itself 100 times. The actual day of the event, things are going to be different. There are things you just cannot prepare for. When you're selecting your approach shot target, it would be great if we had actual practice greens to hit at or mounds out there on the range. But I know like this one, not every range has those opportunities. Like for me, I have one green out here on the right that looks relatively similar to a real green complex, but it's 160 yards away. So that's not going to change. I can't hit a 210-yard shot to that green. So we're doing our best here. The goal being replicating the distance. So you're using your rangefinder, you're picking an exact distance. It doesn't have to be perfect in terms of hitting at a green. It would be great if you could, but focus on the distance. Make sure it's as precise as it can be in your prediction here in terms of what you think you're going to see, what kind of looks you think you're going to get when you're actually on the course. Now, if you wanted to, you could take this experience so far as to go to the putting green and hit putts based on how far your approach shot was from the hole or from your target. You could go into the practice bunker or go to the chipping green, replicate chips if you missed your target green on the range. And I would highly encourage you to do that. The more real you can make this, the better. Take your glove off after shots, put it back on before shots. Go through your entire pre-shot routine. We want this to be exactly like the real thing. And the reason you want to get so specific is because you don't want to be surprised by anything or any feeling on tournament day. Like, you're going to get lies, you're going to get bounces that you can't replicate, but feeling the pressure of needing to hit a green, feeling the tiredness, the sweat, the dehydration late in the round, like that stuff you can replicate. And so we're trying to get all of those emotions, those feelings, and those minor adversities out of the way so we're prepared for anything like that. So I'm not going to show you me going through the entire 18 holes because I don't need to. I think you get the point by now. But the idea is to replicate the round as best you can on the range. Again, is it perfect? No. But it's really, really good, especially when you don't have enough money to play a practice round. If this is the best you can do, it's pretty dang good. I'm not saying you're going to go shoot your best score ever. But in lieu of having a practice round, in lieu of having experience with the course, this is really good. It is really beneficial, and the power of imagery is not something we should underestimate, especially if we're changing careers, if we're trying something new, if we don't have the funds. In this case, the best we can get is pretty good. And so I'd highly encourage you to do this. If you're struggling with something on the golf course, try it on the range. Make it as specific as you can. So with that being said, I will see you next week as we break down this tournament, how it goes, and where we go from here.